So what is Codex? We'll keep this really short. Codex is an AI coding tool from OpenAI, the same people that made ChatGPT. It's available with your ChatGPT subscription, all of them as of today's date. And it's another AI agent. It goes back and forth with itself to create code, to review code, do all sorts of coding developer tasks. One slightly unique thing about Codex is it's available in a lot of different places. So locally on your machine, you can run it inside VS Code, Windsurf, Cursor, your IDE, or whatever. You can run from the terminal, the Codex CLI, or you can access it from the web. I believe it's chatgpt.com/codex. You can access it via the ChatGPT app on your phone. Again, you connect it to your GitHub and you can access different repos and just trigger the AI agent from there. One more thing I want to note before I go any further, the best documentation on this from OpenAI is actually on their GitHub repo. So first of all, you can access all of my notes below this video description, as I mentioned, but you can also head here, bookmark this, and this is where you find a lot of OpenAI's documentation. So how does Codex work? This is actually important even if you have used Claude Code, Cursor, Windsurf, or that sort of thing. This is interesting. I'm gonna read straight from OpenAI here. It runs each task in an isolated sandbox with your repo and your environment. So what does that mean? It means every time you run a task in the cloud, I don't actually think it does this on your local machine in your IDE. Somebody can correct me, fact check me on that. But when the Codex agent kicks off in the cloud, it clones your entire code base, the entire repo, as well as any environment you set up for it, which I'm going to teach you how to do in just a few minutes. It clones separate repos interdependently of each other. Is that a word? Interdependently? I don't know. Independent, just so you know how that works. Now, if you're a super nerd and you want to go deeper, or you're an actual developer, not just a vibe coder, you could read the cloud environments documentation and it'll walk you through exactly what they mean by internet access in the environments and how these things work in the cloud. So let's install and set up Codex. So first, your IDE, assuming most of you are using Cursor, VS Code, or Windsurf, or something like that. You can just add the extension. Super easy. Go into Cursor or your IDE, look for the extensions, and then search for Codex, OpenAI's coding agent. Mine's already installed, but you will install it right here. And then when you fire up this little icon right there, or it's probably under this drop-down, Codex, it will prompt you to log in with your OpenAI account. It used to be harder to get it integrated right here, but now you can just log in with your Plus subscription, your Pro subscription, or whatever you got. You can also do this in your terminal if you're just going to be using the CLI. You can run that command, whatever it was, npm I, and then the global flag right there, OpenAI Codex. Let's paste that in here and see what happens. Just run Codex, and it fires right up. Oh, boom, it's up and running right here in my terminal. Cool. Cloud, we're going to do mobile in just a few minutes maybe, but cloud, you can literally just log into your ChatGPT account. chatgpt.com/codex is where you can access it, and we'll get to connecting GitHub in just a moment. Before we start coding with Codex, it's good practice to create an agents.md file. If you've used Claude Code, this is a little bit like claude.md. This is a file, it's a markdown file. You can use any markdown formatting you want that gives Codex instructions and context for your project as a whole. They recommend creating one in your root folder here in the project folder, agents.md, and you can fill this out manually, of course. You put whatever you want in here. I actually used Codex itself to help me generate one for my project. I told it to analyze my project, all the SvelteKit, Firebase, Stripe, all the tools I was using, and also analyze the documentation, which we'll get to in a second, and then create an agents.md file. And it did. This is going to be given to Codex every single time you use it. Every time you code with Codex, it's going to see this file for instructions, context about your app, the purpose, even. You can go as deep as you want here. Now, two things. Number one, you can have multiple agents.md files. Let's say I had my root one here for my entire project, but I am working on something in the cheat sheet page right here, whatever this is. If I had another agents.md in one of these subfolders, it would look at those first, according to their documentation right here. You can have as many as you want, but you just need to consider the scope, quote unquote, the scope, right? You should not put any agents.md in here, in this cheat sheet folder, that you want to apply to your entire project. It would not see those unless you are working on one of these files in that folder. So whatever files you're working on, it will look there first, and then eventually it'll work its way back up to the root agents.md file. And they also use the word merge. Maybe it looks at multiple agents.md and merges them. I'm not really clear on that, to be frank, but their documentation says the word merge, which is interesting. Oh, that was the first thing. This is the second thing. Agents.md, I believe this was made by OpenAI, contains the example. I actually fed this to AI to create, my own doc here. And they actually have just some helpful information on how these are used, how the multiple agents.md files works, and some other stuff like that. They have a link somewhere in here, I actually put it in my notes as well, where you can search GitHub for agents.md and see apparently 28,000 different agents.md files. So of course you could tack on Svelte 5 or something like that and just look at what other people are doing. It can be very helpful for creating your own agents.md. Again, super important. Good context is key to getting good AI agent coding. Context is everything. Context engineering. Create the agents.md file first. Even if it's only a few notes, you can always come back and update it later so Codex can read this before it does any work. Okay, here's how to use the Codex agent. Just know it's a little different depending on whether you are using the terminal CLI version versus the one in your IDE versus the one in the cloud. It's all a little different, but they have most of the same features. And the basic gist is, you already know this. You prompt an AI for what you want, you review what it gives you, you go back and forth until it's right. Okay, you got that. Let's tour this. So I'm in my Codex pane here. New chat is the way you create a new chat, but it's also the clear functionality in the IDE and the terminal. You could just shut it down and clear out your context window, right? Or in the IDE, you just do new chat. You can view the task history. It's exactly what it sounds like. The settings menu. We will go over MCPs in a minute and stuff like that. But you can access your account from here. You can access the documentation, edit the shortcuts via the VS Code interface or whatever. Not a whole lot. You can figure that stuff out. Now, let's jump down here and tour this area. Obviously, this is where you prompt the AI to do something. Cool. What about adding files in here? In your IDE, it's actually tough to drag and drop. If somebody else could figure out how to do that, let me know. You can use two things. Number one, the @ symbol will fire open this search thing, and you can search for file names. It's not very good at doing folder names right now, which is frustrating for me because I work in SvelteKit and I have a bunch of page.svelte files. It's kind of annoying. If I wanted to do cheat sheet, I could do this, but that's not actually the page.svelte file that I want. You have to start typing in the file name, which again, this depends on your project, but for me, a little annoying, but at least they have a scroll here. There's what I'm looking for. Routes/cheat sheet, boom. You can add that as context for the AI, and you can do this multiple times. You could also click this and do the same thing here, search for files. You can also drag and drop in images. You can also click add image to fire open the upload function, screenshots of your UI or whatever it is. You can add that as context and the AI will analyze it and consider it. Now, permissions, two things. Number one, auto, include recent files and context. I always just leave this to auto. I've never ever turned it off. I can't speak to that. I clear my context window often enough. I create lots of new chats, so I just leave mine on, just so you know. That's it, permissions. Agent down here. If you do chat mode, it's exactly what it sounds like. It won't actually implement code. And you can plan for features, or you can ask the AI about your code, optimize this, or how do I review this code, or whatever that is. Won't actually implement anything. Agent mode, obviously, will. That's the default mode. You can ask it things as well, and it might not implement things, but it has the ability to go ahead and do things, code things, right? And then agent full access is the same thing, except with more permissions. If you actually hover over it, it'll say, I don't know what it says because I can't read it. Same as agent, but can access the internet and edit things outside this workspace. It's kind of like danger mode. Don't use this unless you really know what you're doing. Let's just put it that way. I just leave mine on agent. And if you ask this agent thing to go and pull the internet, I've actually had it work before. I don't know why it says internet on this one. Maybe your experience will be different. You can let me know in the comments, but whatever. Reasoning effort is kind of exactly what it sounds like. Minimal would be, it's not gonna think too hard about this. If it's an easy task, a very small, simple thing, it might just do, boom, minimal. I just leave mine on medium almost all the time. But if you are having trouble with a task, you can choose high and it will think longer, think harder, so to speak, etc. Local versus cloud. We're gonna set up GitHub in just a moment, but once you do, you can choose the environments that you have set up on the web version of Codex. You'll actually have a link to it right here, or you can just work locally, right? You can pass the task off to the agents in the cloud, or you can just run it right here on your machine, right here, right now, etc. I usually just work locally, but if you're doing lots of things in parallel, this task, this task, this task, and they're working on different parts of the code base, you could just pass them off at the same time in the cloud. Cool. I've typed in my prompt. You hit enter or click that white button right there. It's gonna think, it's gonna implement, it's gonna think some more. I'm actually going to add, maybe, a table of contents to my cheat sheet page, which is very ugly. I have some pretty pages on my course, but this one's ugly, and I'm gonna add a table of contents right here. Quick note, sometimes you will not see the to-do list, but sometimes for bigger file implementations, it'll make its own to-do list and you can track its progress right here. Now, in order to stop the AI, click the stop button, or if you're in the terminal, it's a little different. You can just hit escape, I believe. I could be wrong about that. So let's look at some of the things available in the terminal right here. While we're waiting, you just type in Codex, it's good to go. There we go. Now I'm actually not in a project, so I'm not actually gonna run any of these commands, but for the thinking, right, you can change your model /model, hit enter, and then you can read through that and choose your GPT model of choice. You can do init. If you're using it for the first time in a project, it will create that agents.md file that we talked about a moment. It'll create that for you. It'll analyze your code base and create it for you. /status. We'll show you some token usage and some other interesting things like that. I'm not doing anything, so it's like literally all zero. But if you just want to see your context window, how many tokens you've used right now, you can just run /status. It's pretty handy, right? You can do Control-C to exit this interface. We'll talk about custom commands. Actually, it's not custom commands. It's more like custom prompts in just a moment. Okay, so I let it run in a few minutes and it screwed everything up. Sometimes it does that. You can view changes, the actual diff where you see this file side by side. You can scroll through and look at what it changed, just like that. I've actually found that a pretty helpful way. I like that they don't show it to you immediately because you don't want to see it. It doesn't take up space. You can just kind of see what the AI did. Obviously mine's not working. It's terrible. So what I would do in this scenario is literally just start, at least, by feeding this back to the AI. It's not showing and there's an error. Paste. Hit enter and or command enter, shift enter maybe. I don't know, I just added a space right there. Doesn't matter. But honestly, that's it. You go back and forth for each feature. Stay small, stay specific. We're gonna have some best practices later in this video. You go back and forth until it works. Okay, I can see that it is definitely sort of working. It's parsing this markdown file that I have, but obviously the links aren't working. And of course, there's some weird spacing issues because of the header. Instead of fixing it right now, I'm actually gonna save this issue to show you how to do this stuff on mobile and on GitHub. Here is how to connect MCP servers, which I'm not gonna go too deep into what those are, but they are basically a unified way to use third-party tools of all types from the AI agents. The AI agents can go use stuff. I have one set up right now in Codex. Go to the settings icon here, click on MCP servers, and then you can open that to read the docs, which I'll show you in a second. Config.toml, T-O-M-L. It's not a JSON file, it is a toml file. This is gonna be blank for you. I already have one set up, context 7. So a quick note, going back to the documentation right here, I don't know why they decided to do the toml formatting. It's a little bit different than JSON. Most of the more popular MCPs are going to just give you this toml code that you can just copy and paste in here. Some will not, and you will have to kind of work it out for yourself how to translate the JSON that they give you into this little toml thing. MCP_servers and then dot the name of the server. In my case, it's context 7 in that file. And then command equals whatever that is. And then args, the arguments equals, and then you have kind of each one that would be in that installation command, if you will. So again, I just went to context 7 and they already had this and I can copy and paste right here. You might have to tinker around with this just a little bit to get it to work. But once you do, you can actually verify which ones are up and running. In the terminal, the CLI, once you have Codex running, you can just do /mcp, I believe, /mcp. It'll list off the ones that are currently connected, and you can see it has access to the tools in context 7. Yours might have a bunch of them right here. At the time of this recording, you can't actually turn on and off specific tools within the MCPs. You can do that in Claude Code and some other tools. You can't do it in Codex at the time of this recording. That might have even changed already by the time you're watching this video. But just know you can go check to make sure it's connected and everything looks good right there. And again, this is not a tutorial on MCPs, but as you are prompting, asked it to use Tailwind, I could say use Tailwind CSS to get the documentation for Tailwind, or even just use context 7. You do that and the AI agent here in Codex will figure that out and then go use the MCP server, whatever it is that you're doing. Just know it's gonna be in the toml format. You can even go to ChatGPT, paste in some JSON for the MCP and have it translate that into the toml. Just make sure to like feed it this documentation right here first, and it should be able to figure out what's going on. All right, let's keep going on the advanced Codex train here and set up our Cloud Codex account with GitHub and the environments. First of all, you're going to want to go to chatgpt.com/codex and click on Connect GitHub. You may or may not have to implement two-factor authentication just to log in to GitHub and then connect it to OpenAI and Codex and so on and so forth. This won't actually create a specific repository connection just yet. It's just going to be connecting your GitHub account. Once that's done, you should see the option to create an environment where it will fire open GitHub and you might have to log in again. And you can choose a specific repository. You can have as many as you want, by the way. And then you will have the option to finagle some settings. Internet access is a big one, and you can see a little bit more information about the dangers of this process. I recommend just using common dependencies when you set that up, and it will list out several websites which are what you might use more often that are known to be safe for various things. Finagle your settings and click Create Environment. Then, once you do that, you have to restart your Codex on your machine, your CLI or the IDE or whatever. And then you should be able to access this stuff in your IDE as well as in the cloud, chatgpt.com/codex. And at that point, it just functions the exact same way. You choose your environment that you have set up. You can also manage environments, which is where you can go a little deeper, by the way. In order to edit some of the settings, you can turn on or off internet access. You can add in custom descriptions. And again, you can create multiple environments for different projects. And as you're about to tackle some code here, you just select the one you want. You can add files here as well. You can choose different branches, multiple versions at the same time. You can do voice to text. You can choose ask versus code, right? Sort of the same thing from your IDE. A bunch of different options right here, but it functions mostly the same way. Oh, and one more note, you can go into this manage environments section and add/edit or delete your env variables, right? Somewhere down here, environment variables, add API keys and whatever else you need right there, and then hit save environment if you want the AI agents to like fire up this thing and test it out and so on and so forth. All right, As I go through some more things, I actually just typed in that issue. There's tailwind CSS, table of contents, so on and so forth. And then we're going to do bam, code, and just see what happens. Okay, so as that's working, I have a few more things for you. I thought you could trigger Codex from GitHub. As you are looking at GitHub issues, typing in what's going on, like I just had a second ago or whatever, and then creating it and then doing an @Codex thing, it doesn't actually work. You could do that with Claude Code. I mean, it's super easy, it just kind of works. I thought you could do that with Codex, and I actually don't know if you can. So I'm being vulnerable right here on YouTube. I poured through the docs. If you know anything about this, drop fat comments in the chat and help us out here, because either I'm stupid or it's just not quite available yet. All right, so you can also use your ChatGPT app on mobile. I'm actually gonna walk around. Boom. You can actually see I just opened ChatGPT, and right there at the very beginning, you can see the one that is currently in action. If you don't see this right away, you can go into the menu and just click on Codex, and it'll fire that up right there. And then you do new task, where you can also select different environments. And I know that's really difficult to see, by the way, sorry. You can add photos right here. You can choose the different environments. You can choose the branches. You type out whatever you need here. You can use the @ symbol as well. And it's basically the same thing as running it in the cloud. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, I don't care if you like, comment, and subscribe. I want you to drop a fat emoji into the chat. Your favorite AI themed emoji. The robot, maybe? A laptop? Something completely different? Drop an emoji in the chat. I'm gonna move right on. Codex versus Claude Code, Gemini Cursor, Copilot, Windsurf, all those things. Here is my opinion, okay? This is not apples to apples. Each of these tools works in slightly different ways. They're all AI coding tools. Don't get me wrong. It's gonna generate code, review code, that sort of thing. But they have different use cases a lot of times, and it's not apples to apples. I can't just say Codex is better than Claude Code. I just can't say that. It's not apples to apples. So here's my opinion. The closest thing to Codex is Claude Code, right? And I've been using both for quite a while now. I have Claude Code and I use it all the time. Resume, all the time, right? I use this every single day. My opinion is that Claude Code is more feature rich at the time of this recording, and generally speaking, better for day-to-day use, coding, back and forth, review, planning, all the things. It's a little bit better. That said, I actually think Codex does a better job at straight up executing code. It's a little weird to say that. It's not as feature rich right now. It's a little bit more clunky. They're not where Claude Code is, but GPT-5 and all those other models underneath the hood, it implements code really well. And it's a little bit faster, and it's generally speaking, a little bit cleaner code. Less verbose, straight to the point. This thing would scroll way farther if I were using Claude Code for this, because it's just more wordy and more code. Codex is just straight to the point. Here's what you want me to do. I'm gonna do it, provide some feedback. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Claude Code takes a little bit longer, but it's more feature rich, and sometimes the code is better because of those features. Cursor, Windsurf, and Copilot, it's just a different animal, right? I actually think most Vibe coders should start with Cursor or Windsurf. Probably not VS Code with Copilot. I think that's falling behind. Cursor and Windsurf are IDEs with the AI agents built right in, of course. And I think there are just way too many nice features in here, and you can choose the models or you can leave it on auto, agent, and ask mode. There's lots of great things with Cursor and Windsurf, and I think it's just an all-in-one package that most people should probably start with. For anybody seasoned in development, I actually think Claude Code and Codex are probably a little bit better at getting what you want done a little faster. But again, the features are good in Cursor and Windsurf, and they're good in Claude Code as well. Gemini CLI, I have not used, so I can't really comment on that, be frank with you. I would love to say I don't use Gemini CLI because it stinks, but I just really have no idea. And I don't see a lot of people using that as their daily driver, so I won't comment on that. Again, if you have opinions, I would love for you to drop an emoji in the chat and let me know what you think about Claude Code and Codex and all these things. As we move on, just checking in with my little cloud agent running right here. You can see it made some changes, or actually didn't make the changes. It's suggesting these right now. You can see more details over here. You can chat back and forth as you go through here. You can also see the logs of what it did right here, just like you would see in the CLI and so forth. And then you can click Create PR. This is going to create this on GitHub, or you can create a draft or do some other things, copy the patch and go into the terminal or whatever. I'm actually just going to try this and we'll come back in just a minute. So moving on, best practices. I'm going to keep this very short. This is all agentic coding best practices. Number one, I suggest plan, implement, test. It's like basic coding 101. Instead of just running into Codex with a massive app and saying, create this entire React application that does this and does this and does this. Instead of saying that, start small. First of all, that's actually my second tip. Do one thing at a time and plan it. You can toggle Codex into ask mode, or chat mode rather. Get it to talk back and forth until you know it's going to be implementing what you want, because it doesn't always get that the first take. So start in planning mode, start in chat mode, tell it what you want, ask it to generate a detailed plan, review that yourself, and then you can copy and paste, or you can keep it in the same chat and toggle it to agent mode, or you could toss it to Claude Code for that matter, and then implement. And after that, then you test. And AI can do some testing too. If it doesn't do that automatically, you can jump in here and say, hey, debug this code. Try and create a local test file and then execute the script, or whatever that is, right? Plan, implement, test. Try and keep that context really tight. I personally use new chat all the time, literally, right? I will get this far and I'm already like, okay, I can scroll down a little bit, boom, new chat. I will re-tag it with the proper files as context here. I will put in another issue. I will even keep a text document open with like a prompt that I might even reuse, because I'm obsessed with keeping my context window tight, keeping the token usage tight for one thing, and then keep agents.md updated every now and then, especially after bigger features, or if you change something major in the structure of your app, your project, tell Codex to go update it. You can have this right after you do a feature. You can be like, hey, now go update the agents.md file for these changes, whatever else you want, right? Keep it brief. Don't rework the entire file. You can get granular if you want to, but keep that file updated as you add more and more features and stuff like that. Really quick, last thing in this video. Just checking on my thing here, and you can see I have a pull request from Codex. Let's get this stuff here, get this stuff here. There's some stuff on all checks have passed, no conflicts. I could just merge this into my code right there if I wanted to, which I'm not going to right now. But alas, that's how you could do that. Okay, so I think that's all I got. Number one, I will leave a link to my notes here with all these links in the video description. Number two, if you did enjoy this video, drop your AI themed emoji into the chat, and you can like, comment, and subscribe if you want to send me good YouTube vibes. And other than that, let me know with any things I missed in the comments, because I feel like I did miss things. I tried to get this video out quickly, and in doing so, I may have missed a few things. So please let me know in the comments. I can do other videos because I like doing these videos. Or if you want to just give some tips for Codex usage, you can do that in the comments too. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time here on Code Playbook. Adios.